Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Real Organic Project is a farmer-led movement that provides an add-on certification held by over 1,000 certified organic, family-owned operations across North America. Real Organic Project strives to uplift farms working within the spirit, not just the letter, of organic principles. Real Organic certified farmers use practices that are centered around the foundational organic principles of soil-based crop production and pasture-based livestock agriculture. To remain accessible to all types of farmers, Real Organic Project fundraises year-round to keep this certification available at no cost to farmers. You can apply today at realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. That is realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. Today, my guest is Jodi Roebuck, who is the trailblazing market gardener and mentor at Roebuck Farm in Taranaki, New Zealand. With over 2 decades of experience, Jodi guides fellow growers towards more economical, viable farming practices, embodying his belief that when environmental and financial health go hand in hand, true sustainability is achieved. Jodi, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Pretty excited.
And did I get that name correct, or how far off was I?
Oh, you're pretty good. Taranaki. That's our region.
Taranaki.
Yep.
Okay. And talk to us a little bit about that, because you are in New Zealand, very different farming climate, very different politics than I would say the US, and just kind of how the country is run. Share just a little bit about, what's it like to farm in New Zealand?
So we're a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. We're in a very windy part of the world. The ocean controls our weather, really. And we're 2 islands. The north is warm, the south is cold, the west is wet, and the east is dry.
Interesting. Okay, so you are on the west side then, and you're on the North Island.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, that would be the North Island. I'm just trying to make sure I've got my things here. And the region you are in, does that have a volcano in it or some sort of mountain?
Yeah, we've got 3 dead volcanoes and a very alive one called Mount Taranaki, which is one of the biggest weather makers for the North Island. So we're on a peninsula, and the whole peninsula was made up over a long time from just explosions after explosions. So our soil is mountain ash. There was no land here before the mountains started erupting.
Interesting. Okay. So then with your soil coming from that, is it fertile? Is it very poor? Talk to us a little bit about your soil aspects.
It changes within our region considerably. Some places are rocky, some are just deep black loam. And our particular site, they cut the topsoil off in 1975, make it a bit flatter to cut hay. So we started on a mountain ash subsoil, compact in the beginning, but it opens up nice. Yeah, it's fertile, but there's also a lot of things missing, like we have 0 boron, just nothing.
Okay, so you've had to kind of work on that. Share a little bit about what got you started in farming.
So out of school, I did 4 years design and didn't really want a career on a laptop. And Dad got me a job picking strawberries. So I got into conventional orchard work for 4 years, apples, strawberries, stone fruit, just as a job. And that kind of led me to, I was eating organically and so on. That led me, just kind of kept me in ag. So I learned a lot about systems and processes, working smarter, repetitious. Like apples were paid per bin of apples, so you had to work to make an income.
Yes.
And from there, the big change was I did a 2-year apprenticeship growing heritage vegetable seed, and that's when I went, I like this, biointensive. And that was the big change, where I was 27 and I was like, this is what I want to be doing. Then went to the US, did a season with John Jevons. That's kind of a lot of the foundation with our, how we farm, and we have made changes. Brought our farm, there's nothing on it, including no topsoil, no house or trees, anything. 2004, had 2 babies, working off farm, worked in a lot of different industries, probably too many to mention, and set up, after hours growing heritage vegetable seed, but never was ready to run a business, Michael. So never actually sold the seed. I was doing a lot of selection work and improvement on the crops. Then Jean-Martin Fortier and Curtis Stone came to run an event here, and they invited me back, and that's when we switched to the market garden model. That was start of 2016.
Gotcha. Okay. So that was the start of it then. And you're on the land you're on now.
Yeah, we've been here near 20 years this year.
Okay. Very cool. And so what would you say, like, obviously you were doing seeds. What would you say the biggest kind of thing that caused you to say, okay, I can do this and become a market gardener?
Having working on other people's farms and seeing their successes and struggles, but mainly seeing what it looks like. And I went straight over, worked on Curtis's farm, both of Jean Martin's farms, and just came home with a vision. What does it look like, really? And we expanded with new garden beds on 30-inch. Our John Jevons beds are 50-inch, and built wash and pack day one.
Yeah, it's so key to have the right infrastructure. So let's go back to the John Jevons, though, because that actually was one of the first books that my dad had when we started gardening way back. Actually, I don't even know how, I was probably 6 at the time, or 7 at the time. So this would have been 90, 93, 94, somewhere in there. What the takeaways, or what did you learn from him?
Originally, I was kind of fascinated with the no input kind of concept. We have changed with that over the years. Just the intensity of it. Tiny paths and close planting, the composting, the propagation, the homemade part of it, which we still do. We make our own compost, we make our own seed raising mix. The fundamentals are still our background, but we have just adapted with some of the new tools from the market garden. Like 20 years ago, I had never heard of tarping or tilther, jang seeder. So I developed the original farm, our wide beds, just with a small rake and fork. That was all the tools I had.
Yeah. And then John Jevons, does he do the double digging?
Yeah, he does. So my original gardens I double dug once. Now, and as a one-off, when all our new 30-inch beds, I've developed half a broad fork. It's called the Roebuck fork, and we're just working from top, levering just like a broad fork. So our beds are a foot and a half deep. I'll try to do feet in inches, and we open the bed up once and then compost it, incorporate that with tilther, and then we've got a permanent bed.
Absolutely. So, and what caused you to design your own fork?
With our sauce so soft, you can't really stand on the beds because you sink. And I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'4". I can't do pounds. I'm under 60 kg. So I've always been. I guess I'll just rewind. John Jevons is an Aikido master, so I started to learn a lot about movement from John, and just applied that everywhere to my whole moving day. It's just our style. It enables us to work from the path. I guess that's rather than on the bed. No lifting. We work on an angle. Yeah, it's been great.
So is the Roebuck fork available in the US?
Not yet. We're looking at it. It's just a big task. We're working on it. Gotcha. Currently it's just from our website, and shipping's horrendous as it is for everything, but in the future, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. That's awesome that you are working on that. So let's talk a little bit about kind of like the farm setup then. You're on, 30-inch beds. If you go to your website, you guys can see pictures of it. It's a great looking farm. And you're tucked right in there at beautiful location. How far are you back from the road?
It's a country road that's no exit. We're 130 meters,
Okay.
400 feet, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a little bit of space then. And
Yeah, sorry.
how much space do you have total? How many acres or how many hectares or?
Home farm 7 acres, and then we graze sheep as well. And I graze 3 other titles. So I graze about 30 acres in total, maybe a little less.
Okay. And then the sheep, how many sheep do you have?
40 to 60.
Okay. And what's the use for those? Are those for meat or for wool?
Wool industry is dead. So
Okay.
breeding, land management, and meat for us. We feed. We have 2 families on the farm, so we feed ourselves.
Okay. And then talk a little bit about like what's the water source for the farm?
We have a water problem, not the one you're used to in the US. We have too much water, so it's very, you go in the car 10 minutes and it changes, but we're 5 kilometers from the ocean, a couple of miles from the ocean, on a peninsula, super windy and wet. So we have an average of 2.3 meters of rain a year.
Oh, wow.
And you go closer to the mountain and it can get closer to 10 meters of rain, so 33 feet.
Wow.
We are 20 meters above a river, so when we do need water, we send water to our ridge, and then we have gravity. We don't need to do a lot of irrigation. And so our challenge is it's too wet, which drives our working week. We can't do bed prep or direct seed or even use the greens harvester in torrential rain. So these days we're going undercover more with high wind design greenhouses.
Yeah, so that's the next question. Okay, so then what does a high wind design hoop house or greenhouse look like?
Oh, it's nasty. It's just everything's just more solid, Michael. The more steel. Yeah. So sorry, the square meters. Our new greenhouse, 400 square meters, 5 ton of steel.
Wow.
Yeah, she's solid. Massive foundations. The concrete foundations are 1.5 meters deep by 600 wide. So that's like
Wow.
really, really significant. And there's a cost that comes with it,
absolutely. Yeah.
And they have a gutter on there to get the excess water away. And once the greenhouse is skinned, we come back on with like an aluminium batten that's screwed on to really hold the plastic down extra tight.
Okay. Wow. That's robust. And then, so what percentage of your cropping is now going to be inside?
So we're having a big expansion year this year. The last of our flat land, we've just developed the new greenhouse, and we're going to add one more bay to that. That'll take it to 600 squares. We have 4 other greenhouses that are smaller. So by the end of this season, we're going to be 190 50-foot beds, and 40 of those are indoors. And we're looking at putting up a couple of cat tunnels that we're going to strengthen, and we're cross our fingers.
Yeah, I can send you a few pictures of a couple of things we've done that might be helpful
That'd be
on
great.
cat tunnels.
Yep,
yeah, because we had a wind event here that was so strong that it literally smashed the end in. Like the first 3 or 4 bows, they just went like hit the ground. I've never seen it like that. But yeah, we've had some significant wind events here, and so we've started to design around it. And again, we're not a very windy area, so I'm not sure if we just had a straight line wind or something come through. But yeah, we'll get some winds here. So talk to us through then what's the cropping mix?
So we do about 30 with the new greenhouse. We're diversifying a little more, and we're going a bit earlier and a bit later as you do indoors. But really, our focus is on fast growing crops. So Curtis Stone was a big focus on us, and really we want to sell as many fast growing crops as we can. And in summer, the fast growing crops don't take as much space, so that's when we do a lot more longer season crops. We do a lot of carrots. We do paper pot beetroot. So yeah, we do quite a bit of root veg. Can't sell turnips here. We're in a dairy farm region. A lot of salad, microgreens, cherry toms, cukes, fresh onions, lettuce, a lot of drilled baby salad. Yeah, and we run a lot of different cedars.
Okay, interesting. Okay. And so do you guys do any of the Salanovas over there?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And then with that, do you have specific varieties of Salanova that work well for you in that high moisture?
So over the last few years, just to recap, looking at this worldwide, this has been one of the toughest seasons I've seen everywhere, and us
Yep.
included. So
Huh.
probably done 30, 40 types of lettuce outdoors, no weed mat, no drip. It's pointless putting down drip when you got 2.3 meters of rain, and because everything just gets smashed from above. So
Yeah.
we're really backed off lettuce in the last few years. Now we've got a lot more growing space under cover. We're first time users of weed mat and drip, and got some beautiful results inside. So uh, most of the lettuces we see other growers having success with and drier climates just get smashed here. Now we're indoors. We're coming back to the varieties that we've trialed over the years. So a red one called Trellex has been our standout, and we're just really bringing lettuce back on, indoors, drip, weed mat, loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the outdoor direct seeded lettuce, how many rows per bed do you typically do?
So it's mainly it's not lettuce outdoors direct seeded. We do a lot of baby Mizuna or mustard. We've got 4 varieties.
Okay.
We do
Yeah.
one super high density, one cut and terminate. That's our workhorse year round. We have a red, a green. We grow them separately, and then a deep green, 6-row cedar or 5-row jang. And
Yep.
yeah, we do a lot of Mizuna, a lot of radish micros, and we're really excited about bringing lettuce back on. And we do pea shoots in
Yeah.
the field.
Okay, so is that where you just take a couple feet of bed, really put down the seed? Do you cover it up and then just let it come through, or do you pre-soak?
Yep, pre-soak. Um, no bed prep really. Just tilt of the top, put down some plywood, press the bed, then roll all your seeds out. Pre water the bed, roll all your pre-soaked seeds out, put the ply and some huge weights on top, and just germinate them like we do the microgreens. And it's
Interesting.
it's an amazing crop. We do have losses when we have crazy rain, so we can have half a meter in 1 month. That's like
Yeah.
2.5 feet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then, okay, so you actually put weights on it while they're start germinating. I mean, we do that inside, but I never thought about that outside.
Yep.
Okay, so then do you guys do any like vining crops or anything during the summer?
All indoors with the tomahawks or the drop downs. And this season we've
Yep.
switched to the quippler. Really loving those because I'm short. Our
Yes.
The top wire in our big greenhouse is about 3.2 meters. Loving the long quippler system for that. Just so much quicker. No ladders. Yeah, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers. We're actually doing pole beans indoors for the first time on the quippler. On the tomahawks with just jute string on there. And
Yeah.
next year we'll start looking at aubergines. Haven't grown them before. It's just too cold and wet outside.
Yeah.
Anything tall outside just gets smashed.
Yeah. Yeah. With that wind, you would.
Yep.
Then I guess the question is on the side of your greenhouses, do you have roll up sides like we do in the US, or is that still too windy for that?
Yes, roll up sides, but when it's really windy, I get like a strop that you would use on your trailer or truck, and I
Yes.
ratchet them down on the windy side and open the leeward side.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So you keep talking about wind. How many miles per hour is this wind typically?
We just had a storm last February, so that's peak summer, and it
Yep.
was a nasty one. The cost to the country was we're 5 million people. The cost to the country was 15 billion, and
Oh, wow.
the wind peaked at 6 a.m. at 70 miles, maybe 80.
And that wasn't like, was that a hurricane? Was that like
cyclone.
okay.
Yep, from the
Cyclone. Okay.
tropics. Yep.
Yeah. Because you're such a small country, that's why it just can come right in and gotcha. Okay. Wow. That's challenging.
Yeah, it's not.
So let's talk a little, go ahead.
Yeah, it's it is what it is, and we can get the saying here is New Zealand is called Aotearoa, which means land of the long white cloud, and it's 4 seasons in one day. So there's no season for the wind. It's just any time. It's all really determined by the ocean temperatures.
Gotcha. And then I'm assuming the mountains or volcanoes also have something to play with that as well.
Yeah, they bring everything in off the ocean.
Yeah, very interesting. So then with that, let's talk a little bit about management here. So like, what does the typical day look like on the farm?
So things changed for us at the start of COVID. We started supplying, everything stopped, and we started at a big local supermarket. And then this is autumn. And then going into winter, all our other outlets opened up. And we're now done 4 years. This is without the new greenhouse, 4 years outdoors supplying our current outlets, retail, restaurant, plus the supermarket. And this is when I realized that nothing matters apart from plant and harvest. So when the weather allows us, every morning we start with harvest followed by planting.
Okay. Harvest followed by planting. And so I'm assuming you're turning things over, like you crop something out and it gets immediately turned over?
When in a normal season, yes. Yep. Just try and keep the beds full. And we also use a lot of covers. So, and this is what I learned from John Jevons, California, although we're wet, it's still the same. If we direct seed anything, we irrigate it and then we cover with 70% shade to protect the soil from heavy rain or from hot, dry winds. And so although we're super wet, when the sun's out, it's windy, and on our free draining mountain ash soil, the things can dry out insanely quick.
Yeah.
So we can go from a foot of rain to a dry south wind, and within 48 hours needing to be irrigating the surface. It's just radical.
Wow. Okay. So then with your soil, if it's volcanic soil, is that more of a sandy? So like the water just goes right down through it?
Yeah, it's very fine.
Interesting. Okay. And so then what does the team look like?
Currently my wife is just retired from her day job, which is at a girls' school teaching art history and painting.
Okay.
Tanya's full-time on the business, and she does a lot of propagation, wash and pack, and she's taken over deliveries, and she manages the crazy part of the business, which is incoming communication, and also runs the website and the events we run. She runs ticketing and communication for all of that. So it's only been 2.5 months. Tanya's been full-time on the business. That's been awesome. And most seasons were one full-time employee. This season we're just done a huge spend with the greenhouse. On the other side of this, we're looking at more outlets, another supermarket, and 2 more full-time employees.
Okay. And how is finding team members over there? Is it a challenge to find good help, or is that because it's more of an agricultural area, do you have more people used to that kind of work?
It's a bit of both. Really, we're not looking for experience. We're just looking for attitude. We can train people up, and see. I think moving forward, we're probably looking at initially bringing in someone that's local, like someone with a family that drops the kids off at school at 9, picks them up at 3, and they pretty much come in on harvest day. We harvest.
Okay.
Although I say we harvest every morning, we've got two main harvest days a week. So we're looking at bringing in more labor for harvest, wash and pack, and then we're having a big expansion year this year, and on the other side of that, that's when we'll increase our labor units.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So you're kind of right now in this kind of weird building phase, getting through that, and then you'll be able to expand on the other side. That's awesome.
Yep.
Hi, this is Nicholas and Jenny. We are the proud owners of Crystal Organic Farm, located in Newborn, Georgia. It's at about an hour east of Atlanta. I just realized today, actually talking to a friend of mine, this is my 30th year in organic farming. And so we've been certified all along. We raise organic vegetables, some fruits, also medicinal herbs. That's something that we're getting into. And we've always been certified for 30 years. And my mother actually certified in the mid 80s. So this farm has been certified for a long, long time. We eat organic food. We source all local food. We're really into what we eat and where the food comes from. Jay and I, we were talking and going to the grocery store that even like organic, you have to read the labels. And the word organic does not mean what it used to mean. And so when the Real Organic Project came on and we talked about it, it seemed like a great fit for us because it seems that they really are trying, the Real Organic Project is trying to, the word organic still to mean what it should mean. And for people like Jenny and I that are very committed to eating organic, there's a trust factor that just organic has lost for us anyway. So a Real Organic Project idea rhymes with us really well because of how we live our life. Not only because we're organic farmers, but even if we weren't organic farmers, we would seek something like that out. So
I think, yes, also for us, like the word organic has quite literally become super watered down with the introduction of hydroponics and different aspects of, the organic farming. And so this label not only goes back to the roots of what organic farming used to mean, say when Nicholas started 30 years ago, but also, like he said, this reassurance moving forward that what you're getting is true organic product. And also the Real Organic Project looks at the health of the farm as a whole, the health of the employees, or if there's animals on the farm. And I think that's super important as well, because this word regenerative is also kind of being thrown around a lot, or perhaps watered down as well. And so when you're looking at the farm as a whole, that's truly what regenerative means. But I feel like the Real Organic Project goes a step further than organic and than the word regenerative.
yeah, and one more thing is that certification costs money, organic certification, and is required to be part of the Real Organic Project. But there's so much money tied up in all this, and the fact that Real Organic Project is working on donations, it's not like an organization that tries to grab more money.
Well, it's working from farmers and at the grassroots level, started by farmers. There's farmers running it, farmers working for it, like people that have true experience in farming are the Real Organic Project. It's not just someone sitting behind a desk that's never stepped foot on a farm and understands what it takes to farm and to farm organically and beyond organically. And that's super important too, that the people working for and working with the Real Organic Project really get that.
Be sure to apply today at realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. That is realorganicproject.org/thriving farmer. So talk to us through a little bit like the decision for this big greenhouse, because obviously that was a major investment. Kind of what was your thought process before you went ahead and did this?
Ideally, we would have had it years ago when we took on the supermarket, but just the weather just drove us. Losing crops outdoors was a big factor. So just a little bit about our sales. We're year round. We don't get frost, Michael, because you don't get frost when it's wet and windy.
Yep.
So people think, frost, you beauty, but our big challenge is sunshine. We might not see the sun for a month because it's just raining. So yeah, we were just pushed to. We're at the mercy of the weather forecast when we can actually do tasks, and so we're like, we need to go indoors so that we can just carry on with our program. That was the real driver. We can be harvesting in the rain, direct seeding in the rain, transplanting in the rain, indoors, and we're only just about completed the greenhouse, and we're just like, right, let's add another bay to it.
Yeah, you've got it, and now you're like, well, let's do something else. Once you get into covered production, you're like, I can't go back, and you just need more and more and more. So do you guys have companies over there that produce tunnels like this, or is that something where you guys have had to just kind of self-design?
We do a lot of work with with a lot of the companies, including the greenhouse. So yeah, it's a New Zealand and Australia company, and it's built for our conditions. So the company's called Redpath, and they also make the portable cloches that Paper Pot have started importing. So it's a mobile cloche with a clip system that's really robust for high wind. So we, Redpath is the greenhouse, or it's like a serious high tunnel, and we use a lot of their cloches. So we use a lot of covers outdoors, shade net if we're germinating, protection from heavy rains really, and insect net mainly as a bit of security from driving rains on young crops and the wind. It's like a blanket.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with your markets, talked a little bit about it sounds like you started the grocery store when COVID and all of that. Kind of talk a little bit about like what kind of crops they're taking and kind of how that relationship works.
So we were at two small farmers markets. Our first retail store was an independent fishery. That's 6 years ago, and this was kind of formative for us in creating our T&Cs. And so we supply on consignment. They don't buy anything. We have our own fridges in all our stores. It's our fridge branded, and we can put any product anytime. Fridge can't be empty. And then if it sells, they take a 15% margin. But if it doesn't sell, we own that. So they've got no risk. So the gig is for their customers, it's complimentary and convenience. And we saw in COVID when restaurants were down, retail was really up because people were going to the independent fishery. We're also at the independent butchery. And so this model, as we move forward, we're at two other small grocery stores and the big supermarket. We've got the same agreement there. So they don't have to do anything. We've got our fridge, we stock and rotate. That they might just send us a photograph of the fridge if it's looking half empty, so we know we need to hustle and get there. And by managing, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 retail outlets. That gives us a lot of flexibility on what we stock where and when, just knowing the different shopping patterns, when the busy part of the week, the days that are open or not. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. And so then what do they just run it through there? You have barcodes and everything?
Yep. Especially the supermarket. Yep, barcodes. Otherwise, we just got 2 standard prices, $5 or $6.50. A lot of places they just scan it as the price. They just put it through the till as a price. So it might be fresh onions, or it might be cherry tomatoes, all $5, or our mixed salad might be $6.50. But when we invoice, it's itemized, and then at the bottom of the returns. So yeah, it's pretty simple.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. And then do you do any farmers markets?
Used to, not really strong in our region. So our biggest we did 2 markets for 2.5 years. We were on a television program called Country Calendar. 500,000 people watched that. We had our biggest week and we did $350. And that's a 6-hour market return.
Yeah, so that's pretty sad.
Yeah, and we have got one market that's growing on a Sunday, but that's kind of my day off. We are looking at that. Just to bring back some numbers with retail. And yeah, 2 things I'd like to present here. We're 10 kilometers from town.
Okay.
It's a city of 80,000 people.
Okay.
And I'm consistently year round delivering $1,000 an hour. So if I'm on the road for 3 hours, it's door to door. I'm getting $3,000 of product across town. That's come with a lot of work on improving our systems. And like we don't do any heavy lifting, everything's on wheels and so on. And then a little bit about our sales, because we produce year round. Our fast growing crops, if I just talk about them, our sales are the same every week of the year. So in deep winter, we do the same sales as peak summer. The main difference in peak summer is we've got what I really consider add-on income as our other crops like cucumbers, cherry tomatoes. We've got more variety in summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, on average, we're doing $5,000 a week, year round. And a lot of that is generally fast growing crops. Our biggest week, a couple of seasons ago, was the week before Christmas. We did $8,500. And because that was another $3,500 of longer season, lower value crops, it was just a huge mother of a week for not a lot more sales coming in. Yeah. So with the new greenhouse, we are looking at one more supermarket, but we know we can increase our sales for the 9 months that isn't summer in our current shops that we sell at.
Gotcha.
So that's why we did the greenhouse. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Share a little bit about so it says your wife does the business side, you do more of the growing side.
Pretty much.
Okay. All right.
I'll do. I'm always all over. Where's what needs to happen this season? When do we develop? We communicate about where we spend.
Yeah.
And my design background. I guess I'm pretty strong on processes. So what do we need? How do we do it? We start here and do that next to get there. That's me. Tanya drives me. She's like, well, this has to happen. So crazy amount of emails coming in. I just can't deal with it. Tanya manages all of that, and then she'll forward stuff to me like, hey, Michael Kilpatrick's just emailed, wants to do a podcast, and then I'll jump on and focus on that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then talk through the equipment you have. So do you have a BCS?
No.
Okay.
Roebuck fork. So I'll just run through the tools quick.
Yeah.
Bed prep is Roebuck fork. Tilther, we run 3 tilthers with a massive Makita drill on there. We also tilther our compost windrows, and so the tilthers are our BCS. The whole farm's drill powered, run by drills. 2 greens harvesters, 5-row jang, single jang, 6-row seeder. I love that thing for salad. Paper pot transplanter, multiple drop seeders. That's about it.
Okay. And then for the paper pot, what crops do you do with that paper pot?
Mainly beetroot. Now we've got indoor space, we're looking at, we're starting to use the 30 centimeter paper chain, which has a different drop seeder and spreader bar setup for lettuce. And we're just starting to diversify with that a bit, but we really, I'm kind of fascinated with direct seeding. So we direct seed coriander year round. Pretty much you name it, we direct seed it. Then we've got the transplant crops like lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers.
Yeah. So do you guys do spinach over there?
It's on our bucket list. Yep. So so just to rewind, couldn't grow beetroot because we had no boron. As soon as we applied boron, we're growing beautiful beetroot. So spinach is our next crop that we want to nail and master. When we've done it in the past, we've mucked around with hand transplanting, seeding with the jang, seeding with the what's the small black earthway. My goal is to direct seed it and swipe it with the greens harvester. Haven't had big successes. So I'm looking at paper pot and harvesting the whole plant 3 bunched, something like that.
Yeah. Bunch spinach can make really serious money.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, some good stuff there. What would you say would be some keys to your success over the years? Like what key principles do you think you've kind of focused on that have made you been able to go for the long haul?
Managing yourself so you don't burn out. Physical movement. Working, and not looking after your body and diet. And then I think, it doesn't matter who I trained with, the name of the farmers, the big overriding, the 2 things that have been a big influence is lean manufacturing, just putting systems in place everywhere, and then decision making. And holistic management's been a big influence there, but I'm not like a certified trainee, just understanding that the big picture and decisions, especially in a fast moving farm that's really tight. Like our paths are tiny, the farm's crammed in. There's no room for a BCS here. Just the constant decision makings, especially with the weather, like what has to happen and what do we not sweat,
Yeah, yeah. So I see in some pictures here, and I know you say you don't do a lot on Instagram, but there's some great pictures on Instagram here that folks should check out. You do have a couple different rain tanks. Is that because you're collecting all the water off your tunnels anyway?
Yeah, so the greenhouse design with the gutter allows us to either get the water away or collect it. So wash and pack, all our water tanks are for wash and pack, and then and for our houses, we've got 2 houses on the farm, and then we have one more tank that we send the river water to, and that's up on the ridge, so that comes back down with gravity. And just a look, we are big on Instagram. We've just been hacked, so we're down.
Oh, okay.
Down at the moment.
Gotcha. So,
yeah, we're trying to get it back.
That's why it's Jodi Roebuck on Instagram instead
currently,
of
currently.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's great stuff there. I mean, like you guys got some time lapses, build with a new greenhouse, all of that. Again, the reason you don't have trusses in your greenhouse is because you don't have snow.
Yes.
Yes. Because like in the US here, I mean, like we have trussed. Actually, I had our trusses custom built, so they're only 7 feet off the floor, and so that allows us to do trellis crops way easier.
What's the height of trellis crops? What's the height of your top wire?
So in that greenhouse, that will be 7 feet.
Yeah.
So we want to be no buckets, no ladders, no nothing.
So we got rid of the ladders this season. Two changes we made for the tomahawks, because our big greenhouse, our top wire is just over 3 meters, and I'm only 1.5 meters. So I just made a pole with a hook, so I can grab the top of the plant, bring it down, let some more string out, move it over, put it back up, and then the quippler. We switched to cucumber tomatoes for those this year. There's one version of the quippler that's 1.8 meters long, and I just love that thing. We're doing cukes this year, no ladders, just move the wire over. And what I'm noticing with the quippler is, because it's quicker, we're bringing the cucumbers down more often for less work, so they're not actually getting as high.
Yes. Yeah, I think part of the reason plants have to go so high is a lot of times we don't manage them as well as we should. But if we're out there doing the work when we should be, you can manage them a lot better, and they actually never get quite as high and they're a lot more manageable. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, I get that. We'll see how we like this. So far, we really like, and maybe it's not as low as 7. I got to go out there and measure that because I can't reach it. I could very easily probably reach. I'll have to go measure that, Jodi, and see what I actually ended up being. But so far, we've been really happy with it. It's nice. It's a nice house. It's 112 feet long by 36 feet wide. I made it so I could do 100-foot beds inside and then have like 8 or 9 feet at one end, so we could do some lawn, so we can have something green during the winter. So I also want to put in
one change we've made with the big greenhouse this year that we haven't done with our other tunnels is we've left a massive path at the end, 1.5 meters, 6 foot access, which is great for access coming in, but also to low and lean and move crops over. Our other greenhouses at the time and the cost that we built them, we pretty much got the beds coming right to the end of the greenhouse just to maximize growing space. It's a challenge dropping and lowering the tall crops.
So another thing we've done with our ends too is that we'll start putting perennials right on the edge, right up against the edge. And so that way we don't feel like we need to get right up to the edge. So that gives you can only back a BCS. And again, you're not using a BCS. We use a BCS here. You can only back a BCS up so close to the edge of the greenhouse. And so I was looking at that space is wasted anyway. So we put figs at the end. We've done herbs and pots, herbs in the ground. We did lemongrass this year at the end. So yeah, we're switching a lot more to that so that we're having these strips of perennials right at the end, and that kind of gives us additional use.
Nice.
So talk to us through, what does the next couple of years hold for you? I know you talked about once this whole greenhouse project kind of gets through, you're going to be adding team. Your wife came on board. What else do you see happening?
So yeah, the economy's really down at the moment. So we're kind of having the season off. We're still doing production. We're just growing to match our sales. And we're having this is like our third push in 8 seasons on expansion and infrastructure. So we're looking at just putting in the last of our beds. That'll take us to 190 50-foot beds. It's taking on a new supermarket. Being able to come back to focusing on day-to-day on production, not production plus expansion. And usually in our July, which is our deep winter, I go to the northern hemisphere to see the sun. We're designing a lot of farms. I do a lot of consult, designing a lot of farms. I designed one in New Zealand called Roebuck Farm, and we're designing them just really simple layout. And I'm working on a much larger project in Georgia, just south of Russia. So I think I've traveled a lot in the past, not traveling so much, just once a year, maybe a bit more travel, just seeking out innovation, looking at some bigger scale production. I always enjoy, that's where I saw the Quippler come from, and eventually write a book, do some online stuff, but that's still well in the future. So I want to see in our conservative region, what does it look like when we've got all our flat land in production, and then what does it look like as we start to push our market streams and see what's the potential on what's probably less than an acre.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's far more potential than folks think. And so, looking at people like Ray Tyler, who's really crushing it where he is, I think this year he hit over 650 on his acre.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting to see
Ray's an inspiration. I worked on his farm 2018.
Okay.
And man, it's changed since.
Yeah. No, it absolutely has changed. Yeah. And then, so let's talk a few questions here at the end. If you could go back and start over again, what would you do different?
Big greenhouse earlier. And we won't reconfigure, my John Jevons beds. There's a lot of history there. We've done the soil, made massive improvements to the soil. If I could click my fingers, I would reconfigure the farm to be able to run it with the Italian Ferrari tractor that fits the 30-inch beds. And the bed, our farm would look like the farms we're designing for other people these days, like Roebuck Farm. So just wall to wall, as far as you can see, tiny paths, 30-inch beds, and then super simple layout and really nice wide access in. And I guess we're looking at, as we expand, it's a bit. So my take is that our farms are going to get bigger in the future. Generally, we've seen them get smaller and more profitable. I'm really excited about the small Italian tractor and taking a bit more labor out of the farms. And why I'm thinking farms need to get bigger is we probably put 400K New Zealand dollars into our business, and that's a big infrastructure. It's a big job starting the family farm from nothing. And yeah, so I'd like to see our wash and pack run every day. And yeah, I can see farms being 2, 3, 4, 5 acres more common in our movement in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the thing is too, you want to maximize the use of those spaces. So like if the wash and pack is only running 2 days a week, why shouldn't it be running 6 or 7 days a week?
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what one piece of advice would you have for a brand new grower?
Seek out those that are further down the track and go and do some time on their production. Yeah, get a season or two under your belt before you hit it. Before you hit it, keep your day job for a bit, transition in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's great advice. Well, Jodi, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing. Anything else you'd like to share? Talk to us through where folks can find you.
A lot of content on website, roebuckfarm.com, and Instagram currently is Jodi Roebuck, but yeah, we're trying to get Roebuck Farm Instagram back. And we've got more podcast content. We built 20 podcasts with Farm Small, Farm Smart. Our subject by subject. It's called the Profitable Mini Farm, and you can find us. And we run events. Yep, you can find us here in Taranaki.
Okay. Yes. And you guys have, you have a cheese making event, I think, coming up here that actually one of my people was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. She said, if I didn't have to fly halfway around the world, I would go. So.
Yeah. So if you are interested in dairy and cheese, check out David Asher, leading natural cheesemaker. Our friends have a raw milk farm just down the road. And last time David was here, 5-day event, he made 50 types of cheese, just blew the house down. Heaps of fun.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds amazing. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for your time today. And if you're ever in the U.S., get back over this way, make sure you stop in.
We'll do that, looking at next July. And yeah, thanks for all the content you make too. Really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thanks again. So there you have it. Another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.